Start recording. Welcome, dear colleagues, to our October terminology group coaching. Maybe we wait a couple of minutes to start our topic today. Monica is here. Excellent. Because Valentin is here as well. That's wonderful. So that's very good, because Monica was so kind to really suggest the first topic for today. And I must say, it's a hot topic since 2 years, I would say, within our terminology group coaching. We had a lot of fun already. But of course, it's not only a fun topic, it's a very actual, very hot, very controversial to some extent topic. Discussed in various platforms and communities, and in our language and terminology community, we already have some great documents, right? And Monica, if you would be so kind for all of us to present your request, what's actually really in your mind in terms of what would you like to discuss and ask our community when it comes to inclusive terminology management. And you put quotation marks in inclusive. That would be my first question. Why do you put quotation marks when you talk about write about inclusive terminology management, please?
So just to kind of clarify, my question was kind of what are the best practices?
Yes.
So as you know, so I suppose a lot of clients now are starting to adopt or define or even kind of implement some, inclusion and different diversity kind of initiatives. So they want to they're updating their style guides, and they're starting to update their terminology databases. So my question is, what are the best practices in terms of canonical form? So are we kind of changing sort of the standard of what a canonical form is for gendered languages?
Yeah.
So that would be my first question. And if not, kind of how do we, from kind of metadata point of view, what kind of labels, what kind of structure, do we use for our terminology units now at this stage, if we want to adopt these
Sure.
kind of, kind of inclusive solutions, really.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Monica. And I think you were right that you put the inclusive in quotation marks, because it's incredibly broad. And when we talk about inclusive language and inclusive terminology management, we of course have to start with definitions. What about our audience here? I see Valentini, welcome. I see a lot of other distinguished colleagues, hi, who I'm sure have the same struggles or thought about it already, came up maybe with own solutions, or are using reference materials existing, fortunately, on a daily basis. So please, before I walk you through some of the attempts to cope with inclusive language, I would like to hear your experience, your best practice. Is there a canonical solution already? So what about your languages, right? Because it is really different in language communities and cultural historical communities. It's quite tricky. at least for the German-speaking world, it was really a battle almost over many years, right? So what are your own experiences in this respect, please? Valentini, does Greek have has this
I knew
issue?
this was coming. I knew this was coming. Okay, so for Greek, the canonical and lexicographical standard is that the male form is used. So dictionaries and glossaries, you'll find the male one. Now we have a trend of including female special professions because new forms are being introduced. So what we do is we either would put like in metadata something like profession or you know something that indicates that this is one of those tricky new words that come out, or you create both entries in specifically talking about term bases and glossaries, because in lexicography, you know, pure lexicography, the male is still the form that goes in the book or the electronic version of a dictionary. So,
is it also such a sensitive topic in Greece?
Yeah, it's now it's the hot potato of the you know of the year anyway.
Yes.
But because it ties in also with plain language
Yes.
and clear language, and inclusivity, it has many aspects. So besides the gender, the issue about genders, we talk about inclusive language when we talk about people that have problems with eyesight or hearing. So language has to be inclusive in such a way that the screen reader for people that are blind would make sense what it's reading to the person. So this is why it's also important when we have pictures, photographs or something, to put the alternate text. Put a clear description of what the picture shows, because most of the time, at least I was completely guilty of doing it. I wouldn't put anything in there. So so inclusive, it's a good thing you put it in quotation marks, exactly because it's a multi-level issue. So it's not just the gender.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Valentini. Then we share actually German then, and the German varieties then share a lot of similarities. And I like your notion of a hot potato. It was in German, it was more rude. People were really in Austria. It was very funny under question marks, because there was a real, you know, a campaign launched by female scientists. They had a huge, you know, advertisement in the major newspapers, to fight against any kind of gender and gender sensitive language, and this would ruin the beautiful German language. So it was a bit creepy actually if you look back to history, right? So and it was also interesting that it really the majority and the head of this movement was a woman, right? And was completely not only against but really hating. You could feel too much of negative emotions to my taste, right? So that was interesting. It's a couple of years past now, so we even ended up, and I will just give you a brief glimpse afterwards about the Council of the German-speaking Terminology, who, after all these years of fighting came up with a document, if you wish, a quasi canonical document. It's not yet approved, so actually I can show you only the table of contents, but I think for our purposes today it might be interesting for everyone. And they also tomorrow, by the way, tomorrow and after tomorrow we have a meeting of this council of the German-speaking terminology here in Vienna. That's why I was really glad that Monica brought up the topic, because it's so brand new in terms of compiling and providing these documents and guidelines for all of us. Right. So, okay, excellent. That was the Greek situation. We have a lot of other countries and language communities represented here. Usually, Kerstin and Niklas, usually we look up at the northern languages and think, oh, you're so far behind. Yeah. So what is your not behind? The contrary. Sorry, we are behind. We think that you're so far ahead. Please, what is the situation in your language communities?
Well, for male and female, the names of professions, for example, mostly have the male form, but that's for the profession, regardless of gender, actually. So a photographer would be a male or female photographer. You wouldn't know. And that's for most professions. The one thing, nurse,
exactly,
that's the female form, but that's
for everyone,
regardless of whether it's a male or a female nurse. It's the female form.
Okay.
But then there's the pronoun.
The pronouns. The hot issue has been for a very long time now. I think the use of a gender non-specific pronoun, which is newly introduced, which we have
constructed.
We have a male and female pronoun traditionally, but nothing for unspecific pronoun. But there's a new one invented.
Which one?
Hen.
Okay, I heard about that.
Possibly inspired by Finnish hen, because that's a striking feature. Finns who learn to speak Swedish fail to make the distinction between he and she in Swedish.
Okay.
Hon is she, han is he. Because they only have hen, spelled with an A with two dots. Whereas the constructed Swedish neutral personal pronoun then is hen, H-E-N, like a hen.
Yeah, like a hen.
and it's it can't really be replaced by using he or she, because it includes anyone.
But there are actually twofold uses of this, because one use is when it actually does replace he or she, and it's very convenient in some constructions, like if you say the driver should do this or this in a situation when he or she is doing that, so you can replace he or she with hen, which is short form, then, so it's convenient. But the other use of it is for people who does not want to identify with one or the other. So they might refer to themselves as hen.
Non-binary.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's also the use of the driver does this when hen wants this, is inclusive in that respect, that it would take into account that it could be a non-binary
as well.
And very, very often, actually, when people say ladies and gentlemen, blah blah blah, so that would be now ladies and gentlemen and non-binaries.
Okay. You really speak that out. And non-binaries. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Interesting.
But then inclusive, we've had some hurdles with when we had to name a button for supervised or monitored entrance and exits in buses
Mhm.
and coaches, because the symbol is a man
Yeah.
with a stick. So you have to press that
Yes.
button
Yes.
if you
Yes. Yes. Yes.
want
Yes.
the
Yes.
driver to be attentive.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And
Sure.
for
Sure.
naming this button, because disabled is not always
Yes.
politically correct in
Yes.
Swedish.
Yes.
So how would we go about to find something that is
Yeah.
respectful for everyone, but
And
Yeah.
meaningful.
meaningful?
For-
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much for adding this very important input about signs and pictograms, right? So this is a real issue also when it comes
Hello?
to plain language, right? Yes,
Hello?
Andre, how is
Yes.
the situation with African languages, or in your case with English and French?
English and French, yes, that is why I wanted to talk, because as we are drafting our database,
Yes.
we saw that we should remain, the term should be presented in singular form. Yes, but you see that when two linguistic communities are working together, as in Cameroon, when we build the terminology database, is for the experts who speaks either French or English, but they in the government are supposed to speak both languages.
Yeah.
Now, the grammatical category becomes very topical, because when you want to, in English, the neutral form is very pronounced, but in French, we have female and male, which is something that we should actually know, that when we say we consider a noun group like group constitutionnel, which can be constitutional group. You see that constitutional will end in French with one L. But now, if you say association constitutionnelle, which association now is, let's say, female. Now, when you don't put the gender, how would the English-oriented professional will know? Because he's supposed to work in both languages in the case of a bilingual country like us. So that is why I actually had the issue when we talk of using term in their singular and neutral form. I wanted to put this forward, but I was still looking for an opportunity. I think this is a chance for me. Even in English, you will see that some words, when you say family, but in plural form, you have families, the writing even varies. Now, if we put family, if we say, we can say, what can we say? We say group family or something like that. If it is plural, how will the expert, the English expert or the French expert will know that when I'm using this term now in plural, that family will move from Y to IES. If I'm using, I don't know if you get. So we got this problem when we are writing our terminology database. We included the gender and then the plural form, so that the expert should know that this term like this, when you use it, if it is feminine or what you say is male or female, this is how it is declined in French. It is determined in, in French. Also in English, plural would be like that. But from the courses, we limited ourselves to say that the term should be singular form and neutral form. That is, we don't use the plural form. But I think that grammatical category will be could be inserted in the term for experts who are using the database to really know how they can be using the term either in plural or singular or feminine or masculine.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Andre, if I understood you correctly, I think this is not really the issue to avoid grammatical gender or gender. You know, of course, now it's tricky with persons or professions. It's more tricky, but I think a grammatical gender of non-person, right? Like, well, family. We will see. There is also. There might also be an interesting a new trend. What is a family, right? But I think the issue is really actually not to, well, we can avoid, of course we can avoid, we can use gender neutral, right? Gender neutral terms. For instance, in law, many years ago, you know, in legal terminology, and even in the laws themselves, right? There was a very nice book of a German lawyer who showed in hundreds of examples how easy it would be to avoid the male or the female form in just having neutral, right? I don't remember, it was in German, it's for German language. I don't remember too many examples, but I was very impressed because she was really pleading to think about it. Her point was that it's unnecessarily difficult to read laws, which I fully agree, that we need a plain language, that we need easy to understand a language for all of us, plus that it's actually more, you know, more a political thing to insist so much. So a very, you know, society culture driven agenda to stick so much to these male generic forms, right? And I agreed. I'm sure it's 15 or even 20 years ago that this book has been published, and sometimes it takes so long, that we have this discussion, right, and these fights in society to come to a clue. And obviously now we're really very, very far already, because there are some guiding documents for European Parliament, for instance. I will show you later on. But first, I would like to hear in other language communities. Do we have other? We have Aishatu. What about Arabic language? We have Magmadima. What about the African languages in Africa, in South Africa? Yes, please.
Okay. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, my dear.
Yeah, it's always good to be here to learn new things. The current status in South Africa, in my language, which is one of the official languages, Sepedi, we're having a problem with gender neutral terms, especially for professions. Most of the terms that we have, they are very male. You know, like journalist, it will have a term for a male, you know, doctor, you know, things like that. So now we are coming up with ways whereby we must come up with only gender neutral terms, especially when it comes to a profession, you know. And then also one of the things that we are really struggling with is the terms that were created for people living with disabilities, because now the organizations for people living with disabilities, they feel that the terms that we created in our language, they are very derogative.
Yes.
They make these people feel like they don't belong in the community.
Yes.
It makes them feel less of themselves. They're not able to do so now. But but so it's a problem. So language purists are saying no, but that is the structure of
Sure.
language.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is how we call them.
Yeah.
But they feel that no, you're not calling us the way that we want to be called.
Yeah.
And now the LGBTQ, the movement, now we have to come up with new terms for queer, for transgender, and cultural issues are there as well to say, but we don't have things such as that, but now we have to come up with terms so that we can have proper terms for these people, so that they cannot feel as if like they're not included
Yes.
in the society. So now those are the current issues. And also lastly, the issue of when we are creating terms. So we'd find that we have issues with transliteration. People don't want to transliterate. They feel like when we are transliterating and borrowing words, we are not developing the language becomes
Sure.
diluted. But sometimes we need to take this, there's nothing that we can, network, it should just be network, because if it can be something else, it will lose, meaning. So most of the words that we have coined, really, they don't really, they're not specific to, to the term that we have coined. So these are the current problems that we are having, and we are hoping that we can come up with a solution.
Yeah, sounds very, very familiar, dear Bogadiva. It's very familiar to our situation here in Europe, I would say. So yeah, we're all struggling with this, no doubt. What about Aishatu? What about Arabic language?
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Trying to turn the video on. Hi.
Yes, hi.
For first, in African languages that we're starting to write, not starting, that they started to write, because I'm from Senegal, we don't have in the language problems with, it's already inclusive. There's no
is it?
female. Yeah, yes. We have lots of languages like Wolof or Fulani. There's no like, in the grammar, you cannot distinguish between male and female. For Arabic, I think it will take time. It's still dominantly male, masculine.
Yeah.
I mean, if they have the plural, it will be like the plural will be just like in French. The plural will be masculine. There is no not neutral, as far as I know, because I do translate from Arabic, but not into Arabic. But I know that they would use maybe men and women, like both forms, masculine and feminine, to make the plural. But there is no neutral, like as just you said in, for example, in legal documents. I would have to look into it, but in general, no, they don't. They keep it as like masculine and feminine, and if they have to talk in general about like population, they would use the masculine form in the plural, just like in French, or as it used to be in French. Yeah,
of course. Yeah. Thank you very much. What other languages do we have? What about the Latin American languages? Or is the rest European? Are we European or North American? Carol.
Hi, Gabrielle.
Hi.
What I know for now is that, like in Brazilian Portuguese, what is being mostly adopted in order to solve that kind of problem with regarding gender is feminine, masculine, is well, people started out by adding the letter X as an ending to words in order to substitute, in order to replace A or O, A for feminine, O for masculine. So you would just add an X if you wanted to be gender inclusive. But then that brought out problems regarding accessibility for people who can't see.
Yeah.
And then now people are mostly using the ending, the letter E as an ending in order to, that's considered what's, that's what people are doing in order to solve that kind of problem here. And the other day, for example, you can't always do that. The other day I was doing some annotation, dependency syntax annotation, and the guidelines for annotation in the project are, you don't have that, like it hasn't reached everywhere yet. The guidelines in the project were use A or O. For example, if you have an adjective and that adjective is masculine, then you just add a hyphen and an A in order to show that's like either gender. But yeah, this project in particular, for the Universal Dependencies project, you don't have the gender neuter category. You don't have the E. You can't annotate with the E. You can't categorize it as gender neutral yet. But that's something to think about. And like, so yeah, it's not everywhere yet. It's not everybody who's using it, but the discussion is out there, and this is how people have been solving it by using the letter E.
That's really great. I'm going to show what even it's very, very similar. It's in German, but don't mind. It's really here this new gender neutral suffix for again for these professions, right? And you have here, and it's very clear, die Lehrerin, this is female, der Lehrer, so the teacher in the male form is der Lehrer, and then you have everything you actually just said. You have das Lehri with a Y, ex-Lehrex, Lehrex with X, the X you mentioned, and only a different way to put it, INS, Lehrens, so another, because the S, the plural S, right, is quite common, and DA, Lehrer. So there are, it's a wide variety actually, right? The same with friends. Freundinnen is female plural, and Freunde is male plural, and there you have die Freundis, die Freundix, die Freundens. I'm sorry that it sounds very nice actually, and but funny. Yeah, it's as you said, it's good food for thought, and it's how to say, it's a very creative, I think, a very creative way to think about it. In when we see how, for instance, youngsters, right, are communicating, young people with their smartphones, they also created, since this is possible to communicate via smartphones, they created also their own language. So we see a dynamics here, and to prescribe, I think, would be no use. Would be just, people would just be so opposite, against it, but maybe I think with this with the language economy also, right, and this, all these processes we always see in the history of language, this might be a good solution, because when we all are so sick and tired of thinking, but what then why not out of this language economy or laziness, then this might be a real chance. So this is one aspect, of course, and this is I think on top of the whole discussion are exactly these examples. They are widely discussed, right? And of course there are in Europe, or let's say in the German-speaking world, we see really not a very nice culture of discussing this issue. It's very loaded. It's very you know, controversial, but not in the good sense of the meaning, but really in fighting. Yeah, people are very, very much sticking on their positions and are really 100% against, and the others are 100% pros, and nobody listens to each other, right? So fortunately, within this Council of German-speaking terminology, we did overcome this situation. This is really not fruitful. You know, it's just stupid actually when adults are are doing that. But in society at large, right? It's still it's very much it's very much present still, and I think it really needs a broad dialogue, and not only with this is now the way we do it. Yeah? People will not follow, and they will just not use the term. We said Makmadima mentioned the Puritanism. It was the same in France many years ago, right? And of course in the centuries back as well, but also when all these English terms invaded with the technology, right? With the new technology, it was always like that, right? And they wanted to prescribe terms, and some of them, yes, some of them are still in use, but some of them never were, right? So this is really, and sometimes it's really frustrating, right? Because you think, wow, but this would be the ideal term, right? But it's not used. When it's not used, you can do what you like, yeah. But there are the limitations. Yeah, it's then it's really the common use. And I would like to show you, I think we have two documents that are quite recent, and I start with where it is now. Did I open it? I should have. With the gender-neutral language guide from the European Parliament. There are quite hands-on, to my mind, hands-on recommendations and discussions. Just hope that you can see. No, this was the whiteboard. What am I doing? Sorry. No, it's sorry.
I'm curious to find out what people have been doing in Portugal regarding that, because
yeah, do we have Portuguese colleagues here today? But since Portuguese is an official EU language, it should be at least somewhere
exactly,
also
should be
here
there.
in these, yeah. However, they actually have a focus on English. I must disappoint you. And of course, what I like, and I was said earlier, they start with a decent definition, right? It is definitely not plain or easy to understand language. If you have a look at this definition, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 5 lines long, right? So this is the first issue actually we have in term entries. Yeah. This is not, no, I'm not telling the truth. It's 2. I overlooked it. Gender neutral language is a generic term covering the use of non-sexist language, inclusive language, or gender fair language. It's not that long as I thought, but it's not understandable, right? Because it brings in other terms, right? So I know this is often the case in definitions, but it's actually a good example that it's really a new and tricky and challenging issue. It needs so much understanding, clarification, and it needs a mindset, right? This is what we usually tend to overlook. When you only, have to cope with inclusive language, the risk is that you actually get bored or overwhelmed of it, that it's a nuisance. And really, I think we as community, as language and terminology community, we should be very much aware of our own position, our own values towards the issue, towards inclusive language. Because if we don't understand 100% why it's a benefit for all of us to use inclusive language, to manage inclusive terminology, then we might not be good ambassadors for language issues, but the contrary. Right. And I've seen that quite a lot in our communities when the issue was raised many years ago, of course. Right now, this that we have such documents is already really a sign, and that the Council for German Speaking Terminology is compiling these guidelines with very hands-on examples and solutions for really terminology entries, right? This is a sign that it's really about to get mainstreamed, right? So in what they actually do in this guide, and I like it very much, is to explain what they are doing in the European Parliament, right? And this is kind of a reflection or a summary, if you wish, the results of this inner European EU countrywide discussion about how we want to talk, how we want to, the language is always, it's both sides. It's a representation of the current state of the art of language, but it also forms language, right? It reflects language and it forms language. So it's both ways. We can create also by creating a new language, right? Or an inclusive language, we create an inclusive society, right? That's this notion of what language is or can do, right? And I just want to, this here maybe you will find something for the for your languages, for European Portuguese. So they explain this European languages, then that it's of course in all these legal environments issues common to most languages. We were tackling a lot of that, the generic use of the names of professional functions. There it pops up. Why? Because there you see the development of society. Of course, you always had in all these European countries, like in the rest of the world, you had doctors. They were male, and then you had nurses and they were female. That was the classical issue, and now it changed over decades, right? But of course we want to catch up with language, right? Functions also, titles, this is this is very sensitive. Andre, I guess that this is also an issue with your databases, so this madame, mademoiselle, etc.
Exactly.
Because it's really for some, I still remember this example from Russian language where a doctor vrach, was the very neutral male profession of a doctor, and vraчиха, the female form, meant that she is not a good doctor. It was pejorative. Imagine, right? So and this was not the only example, right? So very interesting. In some languages you really find you have to be careful with these old traditional female professions, what they actually mean. So I like that with nurse, that nurse is then both in Finnish, you were saying, right? Or Swedish, that nurse is both then also for the male, but there were only a few male nurses, I guess, at that time, which is changing as well. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Don't we have in German, for instance, don't we have things like die Person? Mm-hmm. Well, sometimes they used to use it pejoratively in the past as well, because they said, oh, just look at this person, diese Person.
Yes, yes, yes.
Die Person. And in fact, it's just grammatical gender. And you have der Mensch, you have the human in a male human, der Mensch, and you have die Person, feminine. And you're not going to change that because that's just grammatical gender. And the question is, am I going to change my psychological makeup when I use those words, or am I going to continue thinking of a female person when I say die Person and der Mensch? I can say that the pilot, der Pilot or die Pilotin, that's fine. And it's fine with me. And I don't really understand all the brouhaha about adding feminine endings or using gender inclusive language, gender neutral language, which is natural for me, actually, because anyone writing letters, for instance, used to say Damen und Herren, ladies and gentlemen, or dear readers, Leser and Leserinnen. And it was just customary to do that, you know, if you wanted to include someone. But how are you going to change someone, some words like die Person or der Mensch, or la luna and the sun, you know, le soleil? You're not going to change that. And it still does something to you when you hear those words. But it's a different topic, sorry.
No, it's not a different topic, dear Alexandra. It's the essence of the whole discussion and of the whole emotional discussion, right? Language is so highly sensitive and so highly political, right? That's why we are fighting. That's why we are so engaged and so, you know, so full of negativity sometimes.
And there's one thing I don't understand about this European Parliament paper. They're speaking about gender neutral language, but in fact they're only talking about nouns.
Let me walk you a little bit through that. Let me walk a little bit through that. It's not a very long document, so we will find the things we actually already discussed a bit. So avoid the generic. These are the recommendations of what they are doing, right?
But you can be discriminatory in using your language without ever using any of these terms. You can still discriminate and be non-inclusive. For instance, but I can't. Or there was a different, no, I can't, it doesn't really fit in, but I had a client recently and he produced a website training program, and he had artificial intelligence actually read out the whole text. And I said, oh, that's a good idea, you know, for the blind. And he said, no, it wasn't for the blind. It wasn't inclusive. It wasn't meant to be inclusive. So most people still don't think about inclusive language or inclusiveness. So, and language can be discriminatory or pejorative, of course, and non-inclusive, even if you're not using any of these non-inclusive terms, because language isn't terminology or language. I mean, language is so much more. It's syntax. It's, well, everything really about language, not just these terms. Like pilot or piloting or whatever. Or,
well, yes. Our business, of course, is, of course, I fully agree with you, Alexandra. Our business, of course, is terminology management. How do we tackle terminology? But of course, it's so much embedded in this broader inclusive language movement. Here are some examples. I think that's really understandable how easy it can be. To use stuff for manpower is even shorter. Right. And I just wanted to point out that there are some hands-on recommendations, right? Here again, we have what we said, with this plural form and he and his and so on. This was an issue, of course, generic use of they, what hen is for Finnish and Swedish, that is they in English. There we have titles, professor, names of professions again. So fisherman, midwife. So this it's the heritage actually of our developments as societies. Chairperson is quite understandable. And then they recommend. I wanted to show you this list because I think this is really useful to have kind of a pick list to choose and to get inspired. Yeah, so that just might be useful, right? So I will share this document. It's freely available. So that's how they do it. Yes, politician. Okay, and that's it. That this is this document, and even more recent. I attended a webinar. I think it was 2 weeks ago, about the Acrolinx. So it's a company, of course. Acrolinx, I guess many of you will know, right? And they compiled a guide, and I really would like to show that to you, because it's really, why do I hide all these things? It's wrong today. Maybe I have too many.
In the meantime, can I just say something?
Sure, always.
Yeah, just to get back to what you were saying, that it's a sign of fairness and no discrimination between men and women. Although I'm saying it will take time for Arabic language, like to be really neutral or to get to that point. I know that institutionally where I'm working, which is a development bank,
yeah,
it was decided because there was a difference between staff and female staff. So women are always referred to as female staff. So after they decided that everybody will get the same benefits, men, women, no matter what, like married, not married, or anything.
Yeah.
The president decided, at least in the document he signed, that there would be no reference to female staff. It's staff, period. And I said that day, I wrote, like, I said, this is a revolution. In the women's group in the bank, I said, this is a revolution, because I know it's like when I joined in how it was and how it became today.
Yes.
Of course, in the meantime, women get more rights and everything. But the fact of just saying from the writing that you will not refer to women working there as male staff, but you just say staff in general, so that everybody will that is on an equal foot. I think that's very important. It translates the culture,
exactly,
the cultural evolution within an institution.
Yes,
and I think it's important. But then coming back to what you were saying about the European Union, I'm thinking it's good in terms of policy and trying to apply it. But if Europeans are to communicate with the world, I mean others who are not European, they would have to get back to that, because it will be awkward for those who their counterparts, when they have to discuss or write or exchange. You cannot impose it.
No, you cannot. Thank you for that, because then it fires back.
It fires back. Easy. I saw the examples that you wrote in English, like lay people, chairperson, and everything. In English, it goes easily. And I think even those who are not English native speakers who use it, they tend to use it. But I'm thinking that if you want to, like, I know it's still a debate in France, like the inclusive writing and everything, and people were against it, but you cannot impose it to people.
That's true. That's really true. That's really true. You can try to spread, and that's why I want to show you in the remaining minutes. Really, I want to show you this guide, the Acrolinx guide, because I think it's more about explaining about the why we actually do that, right? And they give a little bit smaller, maybe. Yeah, no, I think it's fine. So they give a context, and they, of course, it's also very nice with all these pictures. They really start a discussion in this. So again, it's not a big. These 33 pages. It's really with all these nice graphs and colorful pictures. It's not much, but they really give a background why they think it's really a good thing and why they want to do it. Yeah, not to impose it, but become a role model, kind of, right? Of course, their impact is rather large, of course, and I'm sure they are aware of it, because Acrolinx is a really a large company. Many other large companies are using Acrolinx for their language management, right? So that is actually good news also in this respect. And you know, with this, saying the right words doesn't automatically make equality or respect happen, but it's a good start. I like that, right? I like this kind of questioning, yeah, the whole movement, but being very clear in your own values and your own attitude, right? Because it's really an attitude, and all of us struggle, all of us fail, you know. My personal point of view, I discovered my racism in South Africa, you know, 20 years ago, and I was shocked, and I couldn't believe, you know, what actually is in my mind. And it's, you know, it's not my fault, because to be socialized in a culture means that you have a lot, excuse me, a bullshit in your head, and even when you think you are not thinking that way, when you are confronted in situations when you're out of your comfort zone, then you realize, oh my gosh, I have so many prejudices and so many stupid things in my head, and then we have a chance to really overcome it, right, together. And that's why I actually, yes, it's about this belonging. You know, when you do not have any disabilities, when you do not feel concerned, yeah? Well, wait a little bit. When you're lucky and live long, right, then it starts anyhow, right, and you get all kinds of you know, impairments and so on, yeah. But this feeling of, oh, it's the ableism, right? I'm not able, they are able to walk, to climb the stairs, I'm not. So I do not belong here, I'm excluded. When you have, for instance, relatives or friends, family, you know, concerned, then it's way easier to understand why this is not only, you know, political correctness or so on, yeah, or cancel culture, but that it's a real attempt to be such a society where everybody feels just good and equal and belongs. Yeah. So I think this is, then they have, it's really very nice, nicely made. It's important to understand also what's the difference between diversity and inclusion. Of course, I will skip this. It's too long. Who is the target group, definition, you know, demonstrates awareness of the vast diversity of people in the world. Using inclusive language offers respect, safety, and belonging to all people, regardless of their personal characteristics. Is more than another. Good. Understanding your audience. Of course, this has also this background of, well, we not do it for charity. It's in our own interest also to use inclusive language, because then we include also our clients, of course, and our audience. And then plain language writing. Yeah, essential part of including language. That what is exactly what Valentini said earlier, right? So there you have. I'll also recommend the links. It's very nice that they go directly to this respective resources. Very nicely made. Yeah. That's also the terminology is interesting. Yeah, like here in this case, the count. Few tips for communicating plain language, so include that. And really, I said that, I think, many times already in our group, but to use plain language, right, is really also very, very, very good for machine translation. Right? The more we feed the machines with short sentences, plain language, easy to understand language, the better the outcome of the machine translation, right? So this is really a mutual benefit here. they give some of the basic tips. There also, this is nice, right? To see before and after, right? So that is the text, the original text, and then how it looks like, yeah, when it's in plain language. So I like this example. They made it so tangible. Then that's very nice also. And then they really start also with terminology. People feel respectful, gender neutral. You see one of these, and then they give examples. First, yeah, we heard that, yeah, that you it's not only blind, yes, has a blindness, yeah, it also it extends to other parts, right? It's really interesting here. Unpreferred word or phrase, it's better to say, right? And then and here really comes also very much cultural into play. This is the sexual orientation in our anti-discrimination and equal treatment legal documents, and the diversity documents. It's so used to sexual orientation, right? So for Europeans, this is really like here with North America, it's better to say, but it's not in all parts of the world. When a very nice business friend of mine, he's the head of the ISO group, the ISO the International Standards Organization, right? They compiled many years ago this famous ISO standard, ISO 26000, about social responsibility. And they're really ISO members, they are covering almost all countries of the world, right? And there was this typical diversity statement of, yeah, no discrimination due to sexual orientation, age and gender, and, you know, disabilities and sexual orientation. And the Arabic countries, they protested. They said, no, we will never, ever, agree on this. No sexual orientation. And of course there were all these, all these fights. That's typical, the Western world, typical, all these. Of course the Arabic world, they have to protest. And my friend and colleague, what he did, he understood that there was a reason behind this conflict, that behind the words and the term sexual orientation that is recommended here, there is something, a concept that is not, matching. And it took them the entire night to discuss. And my colleague, he was such a good head, obviously, that of that committee, that he managed to make them discuss it and after many hours, it became clear that for the Arabic colleagues, sexual orientation included all kind of abusive sexual practices, with children, so they never could. And for the Europeans, it is, of course, excluded, right? And then they came up with a compromise. Instead of sexual orientation, they agreed on personal relations, right? So that is really an example where we have to be very careful with all these inclusive, terminology, what it can mean in different parts of the world, right? And in different cultures. So this is really something we have to see as very Western, very North American, very, of course, European also. It matches, but illegal immigrant, right? In the US, you call it undocumented person already since quite a while, right? And there are really, really good, sometimes shocking example, very much US here again, but sometimes really also general examples where you understand that these terms or these expressions really, they are so loaded and from history, okay, understandable, but not fitting any longer, right? And non-stereotypical manner, preferred to everyone. So again, that's what I was referring to. Then I come to an end with this mom and dad, right? So what is a family? Of course, you have also now same-sex marriage and family, so then it's parent or caregiver and not mom and dad any longer. So it's really quite, and there again you have this and I will end with this with the, because there is this nice terminology, a long time no see, homeless. So they in a cartoon, they show us what actually is not very inclusive and why. They explain it first, and then in the inclusive way, let me come on. Yeah, that I'm transgender. No, sorry. Come here. Where is this terminology?
Yes, that page.
Where is it?
Wait,
do you
more
see?
inclusive. People experiencing homelessness instead of the homeless.
Yeah, but
that page
there
is the page. Yeah.
I know, but there was a hint to terminology, and now I found it. I don't find it, but nevertheless, you see here that. And it goes on and on, you know. So again, the gender neutral language, businessman, businesswoman, business person. So this is quite actually, you know, gender pronouns comes. So it answers a lot of questions of design. This is, yes, of course, right? So the pictures we have here, pictures, we were talking about pictograms, signs, right? Also the pictures, and this is I will end here with also a very typical story. When I was involved in diversity management since ages, and there was this nice brochure, you know, the European Union in 2008, I think it was the year of diversity, you know. They did not mention it diversity, they didn't call it diversity and inclusion, but it was diversity, European diversity, and there was this wonderful brochure, and on the cover it was so funny, you know, and I wouldn't have noticed, yeah, but at that time, no, it was earlier. No, I'm not saying the truth. No, 2007 to 2010, I was teaching diversity management at the University of Vienna, and there I took it as example, because when I had a look at this brochure, I all of a sudden noticed that, you know, there were three men, an old man, one in a wheelchair, a young man, and a black man, you know, African face with the dark skin, right? So we had these three pictures, and then we had three pictures of women, you know, also an old woman, or I don't remember that, but the three women, you know, when you had a closer look at this cover, then the female pictures, they were, you know, so kind of faded out, so clear and I have to share this. I have to search for it to make it clearer. But you know, again, it was this bias of this marketing or PR agency who just thought, oh wow, this is diversity, and then was biased that the male pictures, they really you know, they were the ones jumping into your face, and you need to have two looks to even remark that there are also female pictures, because they were very, you know, not in this bold and clear print, but like faded away, right? And this was very funny because nobody noticed actually, and only when I had this lecture about it, I noticed myself. And I think this is how also language works, in terms of we communicate since ages in a way we sometimes just do not pay attention, right? And now with this inclusive language, and I also put it in quotation marks because it's so broad, and we could have this whole series of group coachings. Ciao, ciao, see you. To really talk about the various aspects we just raised a little bit today. I will share with you these two documents, the Acrolinks Inclusive Language Guide and the European Parliament Gender Language Guide. I cannot share with you the German-speaking document, but it wouldn't be of much help anyhow. When it's published, they usually also create an English version. Yeah, funny enough, but maybe this could be interesting then for you. So I will also follow up on that. Dear colleagues, I hope this was interesting for you. I thank you very much for your input. That was very, very interesting for me. So we definitely share actually the same struggles and attempts, and I think it will be a topic and an issue to stay. We will see, I guess, more of these guides and more canonical solutions to really rely on, and then of course we will share and we'll let you know. So all the very best, dear friends. We see each other in 1 month. Let me check if this will be, it will be the 2nd of November. Wow, time flies. I can't believe. So looking very much forward to you, and I will send you the links also for the last. I think I didn't send out the last links for the recordings. Carol, do you want to say something? Yes, please.
Yes, I just have a very, very quick question.
Yes, Norma, please.
Sorry.
Yes.
Just go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, Carol was first. Thank you.
It's just very quick. Gabrielle, can I take is it possible to take the advanced test without having taken the basic one?
Yes, it is. It is, Carol.
Okay.
It is.
That's
no
all.
worries. Excellent.
Thank you.
That was really fast. Thank you. Norma, go ahead.
Yeah. Kerstin, Nicholas, and I are trying to fix a day for the exam, for the presentation.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Nicholas suggested a date in the chat, so if you can check that.
Oh, okay. Super. Yes, I will come back
what
to
I
you.
would like to know too is a link to the practice test for the advanced and the engineering, just to see which one I will take.
Yes. I have the advanced, but I don't have yet the self-assessment for the engineering.
Well,
it's advanced
just
plus
advanced, and I'll check, I can take the engineering later, no problem.
Okay. Okay.
Yes,
So,
yes. I wanted to inquire about the attestation of the last TSS.
Yes.
But attendance. We have not yet got the attestation of attendance.
Really? That is a mistake. I'm so sorry, Andre. Actually, everybody should have received.
Yeah.
I will follow up on that.
I did not yet.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
We will.
I haven't received it either.
So then this is you were all online, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We have to do that then. We have to double check. I thought it's done. I'm very, very sorry about that. Sorry,
Okay.
but you will receive. You will definitely receive. Everybody receives a certificate of attendance. Dear Gemma. My pleasure.
Yes, I would like to ask about the training for the advanced. I participated in the summer school, and I'm supposed to have a free access to the training, but I don't have the link. And the link it was sent to me is just for the paid course, and I don't have any access to the advanced. And I would like to start studying.
Of course. So Gem, I was actually sending out the question to everybody, which level you prefer. And when you sent back your answer, that actually triggered, maybe you did you answer, or it was maybe lost?
Yeah, I have wrote to you twice.
Oh, so sorry.
Last time today.
Yeah. Oh,
to ask
really?
for it. Well, just before the 2 hours ago. So,
oh my
but
gosh.
I still haven't received it. But yeah, well, if you
I will
can
send it
to me.
twice. Yes, sometimes it really lands in the spam, you know, but I will send it also via my email address. I will have a look if you are tagged, because when you should be tagged already with advanced, and then the system sends it out automatically, right?
Okay.
But these mails, they sometimes really land in the spam, even before the spam filters, even you know, the firewalls, sometimes you just catch them. But when I send the instructions and the link to you via my Termnet email, then it should go through. Okay.
Okay.
I will do that
Great.
immediately, Gemma. So sorry for that.
No worries.
Okay, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great day, evening.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Yeah.
All the best.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye
Ciao.
bye.
Bye.
Thank
See
you
you
very
soon.
much. Bye.
Bye bye.